Hello everyone, thanks for dropping by. That's the new Aston Martin DB12 Volante, or what it used to be called a soft top. It's quite nice, but I wouldn't have it in that colour. Don't really like blue cars, and I certainly wouldn't have a white interior. Anyway, enough about that. As you know, women are increasingly being in the position that they find themselves on their own, as guys don't want to date them or get into a relationship. Now, the mainstream media, as you know, is on the woman's side and rarely ever takes the man's side. But they've started to take notice, but as expected, they're all giving advice and encouragement to women who are currently single. Because looking around, I found this. As you can see, it's a site called Solo Living, and this was done on August 20th last year by naturally a woman. 10 reasons why living alone can be good for you. Now it says, have you ever wondered if living alone might be for you? Here are 10 reasons why living alone can be good for you. And then the introduction. You notice this piece is aimed at women. That's a woman. You can please yourself. You are in control. Embrace life with your whole mind. Picture of another woman. Is that the same one? No, it's not the same one. And living alone gives you the opportunity to explore your true self. That's a woman's term. And develop a sense of being comfortable in your own skin. That's another woman's term. This might be a simple act of being comfortable in your own company. That can also apply to guys. Or being able to spot what triggers negative feelings. And most importantly, what you can do to counteract them. As you can see, that is another... Whoops. Silly boy. Come on, Christopher. See, that's another pointer that this article is aimed at women. Knowing who we really are, being content with that person, and having confidence in our own values and boundaries ultimately improve our well-being, but also in the way we present ourselves to people around us. All women's terms. Home is where the heart is. And then when it comes to living alone, you can really grow to appreciate your living space. That could also apply to guys. And if you're sitting reading this thinking you've already decorated recently, you might find some more inspiration to keep busy around the house. In our Home is Where the Heart is article. And working from home has started to become more popular. True, my nephew Paul, he works from home. He works in the banking sector. So that's an element of truth in that. And that looks like a guy's feet, not a woman's feet. But that home looks more like a feminine touch. So you could say that is another woman. And then find fulfillment in living alone. I can agree with that. Where is it now? The steps to be comfortable living solo can take time for those who need time to quieten the critical voices about being happy. That's another female term. Safe or lonely if you choose to live by yourself. Often the conversations around finding empowerment through living alone comes from the female perspective. And then perhaps women are seen to be more vulnerable than men. Well, in a way they are. Then there is an added layer of risk attached to living alone. True. It doesn't mean that men don't go through the same experience finding fulfillment living alone. That's debatable. Solo Living writer Michelle Newborn, another woman, explored the article of her men in her article, Do Men Find It Harder Living Alone, which is that one. And then share your home on your terms. Financial independence, of course, as only you can provide your income. and you notice a lot of those hands are women's hands, young women's hands. Active independence, pursue what you're passionate about. With me, it's getting into alpine skiing. There's living with other people. There tends to be stuff that gets in the way. Living alone not only gives you unparalleled level of freedom, but also gives you the time to focus on what you really want to do. I want to go alpine skiing. That's why I'm off to Chill Factor for another hour's practice tomorrow. And great social life. I don't have a social life. Never had a social life for decades, so it doesn't bother me. Living alone doesn't mean becoming a recluse. Many solos report having a better social life and a great network to draw upon, because living solo, not despite living alone, having a fulfilling social life doesn't always depend on the amount of friendship you have, but on the quality of the time spent with friends. Some guys can get along quite happily on their own. And then more yada yada, 10 reasons why living alone is different to other lifestyles, why living alone can be good for you, and then 30 thoughts and feedback. Now that is solo living. As you know, there's lots and lots of people in America that are currently living solo. CNN has realized that. I found this, the big reason why so many Americans are still single. This was done on February the 13th this year by another woman, Kira Al-Ayamo. It's record number of Americans are single this Valentine's Day 20 and 2021. I covered that before. The marriage rate hit the lowest number since the government began tracking it, the US government that is, in 1867, a trend that was well underway before the pandemic, the old whipping boy. According to research by the Pew Research Center, an unprecedented 25% of 40-year-old Americans have never been married. Those who are single are far less likely to be living with a romantic partner than they were in 1990. That would be guys who've taken the red pill, or they've got burnt in the female-friendly family courts, and they decided they might as well look after themselves and not bother getting into relationships, and they don't want to go down that road again. This is the lady who wrote the article. A paradoxical reason, argue in my forthcoming book, Dating Apps. Now, where is it? Where the bloody hell is it? People, sorry about this, people. The dating apps, the anything questionnaire from pineapple on pizza to voting rights, this flies in the face of decades of academic research. Unfortunately, people's qualities can't predict whether they'll be compatible. Of course not. You've got to meet the person. Here we go. This can help to explain why the women I interviewed for my book kept complaining about the men they matched treated them so terribly. She didn't bother interviewing guys. She just wrote a book, and all she did was interview women, getting one side of the article and the situation. She should have asked guys as well. Then she would have got a balanced view. It says, these days practices like ghosting and situationships are a common part of the dating landscape. True, but do women ghost guys? In Nothing Personal, My Secret Life of the Dating App Inferno, Nancy Jo Sales, another woman, writes that the destabilizing trend women have faced in recent years is a dangerous, outrageous sense of entitlement and disrespect from the men they are dating with whom they are having sex. Well, disrespect and entitlement goes both ways. You've all seen the videos of women on TikTok, how a warped sense of entitlement a lot of them have, and as they're having sex, the proper garden tool, as Man Talk says, the old guy wants to get into a relationship with a village bike. And then it says another reason, of course, is when people meet online, they might have less reason to be concerned about their reputations. Well, that goes, no guy wants to go with a woman who's everybody in the town has been with. So, and a woman has got a reputation of sleeping around, she ain't going to get a guy. So that is a load of nonsense, this sentence. And then you get more yada yada. And it says, dating apps aren't as smart as their creators may claim. Algorithms simply can't set up soulmates, and even if they could, app makers wouldn't have an incentive to match to many of them. They'd stand to lose users, of course, money. But they're engineering the impression that it's easy to find partners, which makes people less likely to end up in relationships. Also, if a woman has a shopping list of requirements from a guy, she's also not going to be in a relationship because no guy will ever match that. This means users looking for love need to first find a different commitment, carefully filter through loads of profiles, or you just meet people face to face as you used to do in the old days. Now it says big reasons so many Americans are still single. Now the US Census Bureau, if you didn't know, if you are in America as an American, February the 15th was Single Awareness Day in America. I'd never even heard of that till I found this article. Now this was done on 15th of February this year, and it goes down from 1950 to 1960 censuses and current population survey. The single life. The gap between married and unmarried Americans has narrowed since 1950. And 1950 is 60. The second wave feminism started till about 1980. And as you can see, the 50s, they usually lived at home, family life, husband goes out to work, the wife stayed at home, raised the children. You've all seen the 50s movies from America. Life was good, America was a nice place to live, and then everything started to go into hell with second wave feminism and the contraceptive pill being developed. And as you can see, it went up. But it's narrowed recently. 2023. Could this be women seeing the wall approaching and they need to start to panic and get involved with a guy and get married? You've all seen the TikTok videos of women, they're complaining that they left it too late after they're riding a cock carousel in their prime years. And it goes down. Maiden age of first marriage 1890 to present. Now, as you know, a woman's prime years are 18 to 22. Now, 19th century, World War II, the Great Depression, World War II, American economy started booming, 1950s, booming, 1960s, the second wave feminism started, 1970s, and 1980. Now look at 22, that's the prime age peak. 1980, it stopped. That was the end of second wave feminism, around about here, and third wave feminism started. But as you can see, women used to get married from 1950 to 1980 when they were in their prime years. Then post 1980 is left it later and later and later till we get to 2023 last year and 28. But they're approaching the wall now. What were they doing in this time? Riding the cock carousel. having a good time. They're not thinking of settling down and becoming a wife and mother of children. They should have done it and there. But the 1980s was the last year that this happened. Same with guys. Guys noticed women were going like that. But MGTOW started around about there. As you can see, there's a spike. And then the MGTOW factor kicked in. The MGTOW effect, as I say. And once again, but a guy can become a father from there right up to middle age. But women, their chances of having children are most likely reliant on this age group. My mother was 23 when she got married. She was 38 when she had me, so it was a last resort, but I had 2 older brothers before then. But Mum was in this group, and Mum was 23, Dad was 22, I think, when he got married in 1941 during the war. Anyway, as you can see, that's Statistica, US Census Bureau. Statistica, the number of single-person households in the United States from 1960 to 2022. Once again, 1960, second wave feminism started. And there, 75, 1980, there was 6.9 million people in single households in America. And then 1980, 18.3 million people in single households in America. And 1985, when second wave feminism came to an end, as 20.6 million people in single households in America. And then we get to the 1990s, an exponential rise. Going back to this, it correlates. 1990. There, 1980, the women stopped marrying in their prime years. And 1990, there was a bit of a dip. They started to get a bit worried because the wall approaches here. Or if she looked after herself, it's here. But still, 1980, and 1980, living on their own, riding a cock carousel, no thoughts of the future. And as you can see, the number of single households have gone up and up and up. Till 2022, 37.89 million Americans live on their own. It says here, 37.89 million single people-led households in America. This is an increase from the previous year when there were 36.5 million households in the United States. Now this is where MGTOW kicked in. The MGTOW effect could have on that. As it says, the MGTOW effect here, that could be the MGTOW effect for guys. But anyway, that's Statistica. I also, looking around, found this, Global News. This was written by another woman, 1st of July this year. Why young people are choosing to stay single and loving it. Here's why. Okay, you might be loving it when you're single, but what happens when you start getting older and you're still single? No children. There's the example of modern women. She's got a bull ring in her nose, that's the first thing, and a nose stud. There's your future wives. Once they stop riding a cock carousel, another 10 years from now, they'll be on TikTok complaining we're all the good men. With their triple body counts they've all got. Why won't they come and have a relationship with us? It says, young people today are not only more likely to be single than previous generations, but also seem perfectly content with their single status. It's all right when you're young, but what happens when you get older? A new study found. The study published earlier this month in the Personal and Social Psychology Bulletin said people aged 14 to 20 years old are more satisfied with being single than their counterparts 10 years ago. Okay, Well, what happens when you get older? It seems today's adolescents are less inclined to pursue a romantic relationship, too busy riding the cock carousel. This could be the reason for the increased singlehood satisfaction. And Tita, whatever that name is, probably another woman, lead author and psychologist, the Institute of Psychology in Johannesburg, that's Germany, Mainz in. Yeah. It is notable in particular. Now this was interesting. It is notable that in particular Western industrialized countries, singlehood is no longer unconventional and now considered more socially acceptable than in the past. Now that could be the MGTOW effect, guys looking after themselves and women finding out that guys don't want to date them. And the choice of staying single may also be on the rise in Canada, that Sandman's patch. It says, the trend is reflected in the growing number of people living alone. Statistics Canada data show that in 2021, 4.4 million people in Canada were living alone, up from 1.7 million in 1981. Going back to that, young women, the prime age at the top, 22, second wave feminism, decide they don't want to get married, they want to have some fun, and they'll only get married here once they've had the fun times and the wall starts approaching. Most people chose not to get married. In 2020, Canadian marriages hit a historic low, with 33% fewer marriages registered compared to the previous year. That could be the MGTOW effect in Canada, affecting that. Susan Wenzel, another woman, a certified sex and relationship therapist, nice job if you can get it, based in Winnipeg, said not only are more young people choosing to stay single, but she's seen this trend growing among the older clients as well. Now those older clients, is that guys or women? If it's guys, then they've taken the red pill and they've gone MGTOW. And then it goes down. The study in Germany looked at data from nearly 3,000 people in different birth cohorts. The researchers then gathered data in two separate periods, 08 to 22 and 19 to 21. And then all about it, yada, yada, yada. What's behind the shift? Shifting social values towards individualism, personal autonomy, and acceptance of diverse relationships, including prolonged singlehood, might explain the higher satisfaction among singles today, the researchers suggest. No mention of women being too picky in finding a future husband and having a shopping list, or guys seeing how they think the landscape is and decided to check out of it, i.e. go MGTOW. And then we got two women talking about women not getting dates. And he says he believes young people are thirsty for real connection, which may explain why many of them are choosing to be single. Dating apps may not be for that generation anymore. Then we got the old whipping boy in COVID pandemic. And then this lot. TikTok and social media may scare people into not wanting a relationship. The guys that they've seen women on TikTok and they've seen what women are really like, so that could be a sort of half-hearted nod towards men. She said on social media you see people complain about their relationship and hear horror stories. That is the guys in the comment section about women. And that may cause you not to want to be in a relationship. That could be a nod towards MGTOW and the way guys see the dating scene. And that is global news. I found this, the Times of India. Why married men and women, single women, are the happiest in the world. Life is not merely about existence, it's about so much more. It's about living, happiness, growth, stability, fulfillment, yada, yada, yada. If you had to pick one, who would you choose? Parents or a spouse? Mum and Dad? Your vote's been submitted. Continue with Google. No chance. Marriage often provides men with a stable emotional support system and a deep emotional connection. Maybe so, but what happens if she cheats on you? Men often seek connections in life, having a partner to share the highs and lows, which can reduce feelings of loneliness. I've been on my own for 7 years now. Now Dad rejoined Mum, and I don't feel that lonely. I just keep busy. That's where guys with his hobbies comes in. Keeps his mind occupied. With me, it's learning how to alpine ski. Psychological and scientific studies show that married men are generally happier than single men. What happens if she divorces you and you're an ex-married man and you lose half your stuff and you lose access to your children and you have to pay child allowance and alimony? He says this can be contributed by several factors such as better lifestyle choice encouraged by their wives, including healthier habits and regular care. It says married men are also less likely to engage in risky behaviours as they have responsibilities at home. They tend to avoid excessive drinking and dangerous activities, which are more common amongst single men. What about a woman cheating on the guy and by chance getting knocked up by another guy? And it says emotional well-being is another factor. The emotional support from your partner helps you reduce stress, leading to a better quality of life for married men. But what if he comes home to a Nagasaurus after a stressful day at work? There's a load of rubbish, this article. Marriage also brings financial stability for many men in cases where both partners are earning. Combined incomes make it easier to afford a comfortable lifestyle, reduce financial stress, allowing for better future planning. What happens if she earns more than him? She'll probably decide she could do better, and then she divorces him. And then socially too, many cultures, including India. Well, this is an Indian perspective. And then we go the independence and joy of single women. This is another pro-woman article. When considering women, it's important to ask what do they value most in life but often struggle to attain. The answer is independence. Women place immense value on their independence and individuality. I don't need no man. Many factors contribute to this, such as overprotective parents. Well, they have to protect the daughter, family responsibilities, where they act as primary caregivers. Of course, you're a wife and mother, and more. Women cherish the freedom to make decisions without compromising with a partner. In other words, she wants to be a boss babe. This desire for independence is strong and empowering, providing them with a deep sense of satisfaction and achievement that they may find difficult to sacrifice in a relationship. In other words, she wants it all, and she wants to be a wife, but she wants to live the single life. And see another woman in the picture. And then more group of women. I wonder how many of them got a wedding ring on or an engagement ring. Then single women are often free from the typical domestic responsibilities that come with marriage and raising children, such as caring for a spouse. It makes you think that a man can't look after himself, and household chores. Well, you have to run a household. These aspects contribute significantly, while studies show that single women tend to report higher levels of happiness compared to married women. They lead fulfilling, productive lives, where the absence of a spouse doesn't diminish their overall satisfaction. Bullshit. If that's the case, why are so many of these women complaining on TikTok, where have all the good men gone? We can't get a guy to commit to us. I've just divorced my husband and I'm crying, the worst thing I've ever done. This is the kind of thing which women read, and then they wonder why they end up on their own. And then it's more yada yada yada. And that's the Times of India. Why married men and single women are the happiest in the world. Now, going back to guys in this article, I found this. Do men find it harder to live alone? This was 20th of October 2020 by Michelle Newbold. No, it's a different woman. Another woman writing it. Divorcee Dominic Browning, another woman, published an article called Alone Again, naturally, in New York Times. She was talking about why men find it so much harder to live alone than women do following a relationship breakup. Bullshit. Guys are adaptable. In the American Wild West, during the formation of the country, you get guys called mountain men that went out into the wilderness and explored. You didn't hear any tales in America about mountain women. You didn't get any women going into the backwoods and exploring. It was always men. Men are used to living on their own. It's in our nature. In her piece, she wrote about the time she took a tumble in a slippery wooden deck, and 2-3 minutes to gain her composure, she noted that while in a control enter was urging her to move and get up, her negative inner voice was with whimpering and scolding. It was saying, This is what happiness when you live alone. And then despite the slip, she goes on to say that most women, once released from marriage, seem to feel it would be madness to go back to a setup that involves not only housekeeping and all this manifold, time-sucking beauty, but also husband-keeping. Another woman piece complaining about men. But then you get all these women complaining on TikTok, crying that they just divorced a husband, and it's the worst thing they've ever done. She highlighted some examples, such as how her single female neighborhoods relish their freedom and independence, how they love to eat at odd hours just because they felt like it. What happens when they start getting older and they're still on their own? What she explained was the fact that most women feel safe when nesting at home and are quite happy to be alone, whereas men are more hardwired to be on alert for potential dangers at all times. Where'd she get that gem from? Men don't care about the perks of being alone, except you're alone with the twins. One is called peace, the other is called quiet. Being alone, she says, being alone to them feels dangerous and unnatural. No, it doesn't. Have you noticed how common it seems for men to quite quickly remarry after suffering a divorce or becoming a widower? I have never heard of any people that I know that got divorced marrying again. And then, why do some men hate to be alone? Judging by the evidence around me, men do not have such a big problem with remarrying or cohabitating with a new partner unless he's lost half his stuff from the previous one. In fact, it seems if most men prefer not to live alone for any longer than a few short months. Well, all the comments in the MGTOW channels on YouTube give short shrift to that. It says most single women I know really love their lives and would struggle to give up their freedom. Speaking as someone who cherishes my independence, I don't need no man, in other words. I love doing whatever I want to do when I want to do it. What happens when you approach the wall and menopause and you start getting old? And then, but surely why men dislike remaining alone has to go deeper than an old-fashioned reliance on having a partner to do the shopping, cooking, cleaning, child-rearing. Well, I do the shopping, I do the cooking, and I've just done the cleaning this morning, and I don't have any children to raise. And it says, despite what some long-term married women think, men are entirely capable of taking care of themselves. Well, at least she's got one thing right. And then we go living alone without being alone, and more yada yada, a socialite shift towards solo living, and a repeat of these thing about the number of households in America where a single person lives there. And then nowadays the mix is far broader. You have young urbanites moving from shared accommodation to choosing to live alone. You're young, but when they get older, plus the rising numbers of divorcees, seeking a more significant number of middle-aged people living alone, and of course older people surviving their spouse. Well, the number of divorcees find that going back in the dating game is a lot harder than they go on TikTok and complain about it. And then, best of both worlds, it is down to men's primal hard wiring. It says, yet in general, men still find it harder to live alone than women do. Bullshit. But why? The primal hard wiring, men as a hunter and defender. And then we got that thing, the fish, bicycles and water. Woman needs a man like a fish needs a bicycle, but a man needs a marriage like a fish needs water, which is wrong. He says, I believe it is not marriage men like to at least cohabit with someone soon after a breakup. No, if he's got financially burnt in the female-friendly family courts, he don't want to go down that road again. And then man caves and she sheds. This is also, you notice people, a female-friendly article slagging off men to a point. Men often do seek a bit of solitude too, however, they have the unique ability to be able to go to their man cave and be alone, even while sitting right next to their partner on the sofa. Yeah, get away from her. Men have the unique ability to switch off and tune out when they wish, in a way that women seem to struggle with. Yeah. She's getting on his nerves, so he just switches off. And then women tend to need to escape physically and get some separation to achieve some alone time. We cannot escape to our she shed and be alone unless it is in a real world she shed, like going to a day spa or going for a long walk alone. And then in conclusion, while men can usually satisfy their need to be alone by escaping to their own head space or getting away to do the things they love for a short while, the video games and that, they may feel safer on a primal level when they are doing some things as part of a couple. Maybe, but depends who you're with. This could go somewhere to explain why men find it harder to live their lives alone following the breakup of a relationship. But some guys, they find they prefer to live on their own with the twins. One's called peace, the other called quiet. And then we have all the commentary, the feedback. But as you can see, people, all these articles, they all seem to be female friendly because, as I said at the beginning of this video, the media is on the woman's side. Hardly ever is the media on the man's side, and they all take the woman's side if she finds she's all on her own with these encouragement pieces like this. But this gives an idea why women stop wanting to have children in their prime years and choose to rose the carousel, and as a result, they're leaving married later and later in life. They start panicking here, seeing the wall approaching, they're in desperation, but they've passed their peak, and the chance of conceiving a child at this age is a lot less than having a child at this age. And as a result, you see the rise of the number of single households in America. I might try and find something further in this for next week, but I think I'm on the half an hour mark, probably way over that. So you know the routine, people. Like, dislike, comment, subscribe. It's completely up to you. So until next Monday, that's it for this one. Bye bye.